Songs at Dawn is a collection of poems by an Akwa Ibom author by name Robert Udoikpa. Robert Udoikpa has established himself as one of the prolific authors in Nigeria and beyond. He is a pastor and an entrepreneur. Apart from Songs at Dawn, published in 2013, apart from Songs at Dawn, published in 2013, Pastor Robert Udoikpa has published other works like Lines for Children, Seat of Contest, The Reaper's Fruit, Lines for Children, Seats of Contest, The Reaper's Fruit, Pearls of Passion, The Orphan's Throne, The Orphan's Throne. He has also written Drum at Dawn and Dance at Dawn. Drum at Dawn and Dance at Dawn. As I said, he combines creative writing with running his publishing business and pastoring a church. The church is by name City of Glory Chapel. It's the chairman, board of directors of Robert Minder International Limited. Udoikpa's works are didactic in nature. That means they teach moral lesson. Udoikpa's works are didactic in nature. That means they teach moral lesson. This is part of the essence of literature. Apart from entertainment, literature should teach, should educate, should inform. Udoikpa's works also have politics embedded in their parts. So you could say that there is what we might call political commitment in his work, because he is interested in ensuring a better society by engaging all the stakeholders in society through his fiction. Because creative writing, of course, writing generally has the power to change realities. So, what we notice is that political commitment has become popular in literature and criticism in contemporary times. This is because writers no longer subscribe to the philosophy, the ideology of art for art's sake, where we simply read literature for its own sake and enjoy it and talk about its beauty, its aesthetics, and leave it there. In contemporary criticism, we are focused on how literature can help make society a better place. And that is what we mean by literature of social commitment, or literature of commitment. So we might want to read Udoikpa's Songs at Dawn as a collection that exemplifies literature and social commitment, a kind of literature that is concerned with the alteration of societal realities for the betterment of the people. So the collection Songs at Dawn is organized in 6 parts. Collection Songs at Dawn is organized in 6 parts. And it is also made up of 81 poems. It's made up of 81 poems. Pastor Udoikpa situates Songs at Dawn in the social scene of man. Situates Songs at Dawn in the social scene of man. He takes the posture of a preacher. Of course, he's a pastor, so the persona takes the posture of a preacher. And so the poems in the collection could be read as a sermon. The poems in the collection could be read as a sermon, in which the persona decries the everyday realities in a society. The persona urges the readers and everyone in society to do the right thing and shun the wrong thing. The persona urges everyone to shun ungodly ways in our daily dealing and in public offices. So this is why we say that the poem is didactic, because we have a lot to learn by reading the poem. So Udoikpa believes that human nature can be improved through exhortation. And this is what he does in this poem, or in this collection. Among the poems in Songs at Dawn are appreciation. Remember that when you're writing the title of a single poem, you place it in quotation marks. You do not underline. Place in quotation marks. It's only the title of the text that is underlined. It's only the title of the text that is underlined. Appreciation. The Black Kingdom. The Black Kingdom. The Black Kingdom. The Leader. And the disciplines. And the disciplines. The leader and the disciplines. The first part of the collection is entitled Philosophy. The first part of the poem is entitled Philosophy. This is where most of the didactic poems can be found. This is where most of the didactic poems can be found. So most of the poems in that part are didactic and speak to the beliefs and the ideals of the poet, what the poet believes in. You have poems like The Discipline, Drama, and Education. You have poems like Disciplines, The Disciplines, Drama, and Education, which states the poet's firm belief that education and literature can transform both the individual and society. The poet believes that education and literature can transform both the individual and society. So when an art object is utilized for societal good, then we are talking about literature of commitment, which is different from literature that is based on art for art's sake. So that is why I said that Udoikpa's poetry is socially committed. Udoikpa's poetry is socially committed. That is what we mean by literature of social commitment. Literature that wants to go beyond mere entertainment to liberating the oppressed structures in society. That's what we mean by literature of social commitment. The poem Appreciation is interesting because it aims to inculcate the virtue of appreciation in both the young and the old. The poem Appreciation is interesting because it aims to inculcate the virtue of gratefulness in everyone. So this poem teaches against ingratitude. This poem teaches against ingratitude. It rather teaches that we should appreciate God and man for whatever has been done for us should have the virtue of gratitude. The poem also teaches contentment, because a grateful person is a contented person. A discontented person is an ungrateful person, because no matter what you do for the person, they want more, it's not enough, they're not satisfied. And so the person that shows appreciation is one who has the virtue of contentment. And so the poem appreciation also teaches contentment. The poem urges the reader to appreciate God and His works instead of passing judgment. In this poem intersects with Alexander Pope's An Essay on Man, which decries ingratitude towards God by questioning His creation. The poem An Essay on Man by Alexander Pope decries man's ingratitude towards God, who questions God's creation. Then we have the poem The Leader. As the title suggests, the poem is concerned with leadership, which is a predominant theme in African literature at the moment because of the leadership crisis that we have in Africa today. The poem entrenches or corroborates the concept of leadership determinism. Leadership determinism is the idea that leadership determines the state of society, and that society cannot be better than its leadership. So in leadership determinism, we link whatever problems exist in society to the leadership of that society. And of course, if everything is running well in the society, then we also link it to the leadership. So society cannot do better than its leadership. That's the idea of leadership determinism. The poem, The Leader, has 2 stanzas. The poem, The Leader, has 2 stanzas. Each stanza has 6 lines. Each stanza has 6 lines. Most of the poems in Udoikpa's Songs at Dawn are written in free verse. And that is the exact formula used in The Leader. It is written in free verse. The poem also makes use of enjambment. The poem also makes use of enjambment. In this poem, it is seen that Udoikpa links the destiny of society to the leadership of society. In this point, it is seen that Udoikpa links the destiny of society to the nature of society. This can be seen in the opening lines of the poem. The world would paradise be when leaders in earnest would take input from those they lead. The world would paradise be when leaders in earnest would take input from those they lead. So you could see from the lines that Udoikpa proposes a synergy between the leaders and their citizens, the subjects. There should be a flow of information, and that the leaders should listen to the yearning of the masses that they lead, so that they can satisfy them. If they do not listen, that means they don't know the concerns of the people, and they cannot make the people happy. So this is very important in leadership, because you're leading people, you need to listen to what they're saying, so you feel their concern. And if you're able to address those concerns, then you can safely say that you have satisfied them, you are developing society. But when there's a disconnect between the leadership and the citizens, the leaders will go on doing whatever they want without knowing whether those things are actually what the people need or not. So this poem has a didactic tone, and the poem is interested in bringing the leaders and the citizens together, so that we don't have the current divide between the leaders and the citizens. It is possible to see how this poem, The Leader by Robert Udoikpa, intersects with Neo Shundare's The Leader and the Led. This is because we see that the two poems communicate in terms of themes and subject matter. The two poems communicate in terms of themes and subject matter. Both are concerned with the problem, both poems are concerned with the problem of leadership in Africa. A dominant poetic device deployed in Udoikpa's The Leader is inversion. So inversion refers to the reversal of the syntactic order of a sentence for poetic effect. Inversion refers to the act of reversing the normal poetic order, syntactic order of a sentence in order to create a poetic effect on the reader. The reversal of the normal syntactic order of an expression for poetic effect is inversion. Writers use inversion deliberately because there's a kind of effects that they achieve. There's a difference between he goes there and there he goes. When it comes to creative writing, how you arrange the words can change the meaning and how the meaning is felt by the reader. So there's a difference between he goes there and there he goes. Okay? So that is what Udoikpa does here. He uses inversion. You could see from the lines that I read that he has reversed the normal syntactic order of the expression. Notice this. The world will paradise be. The world will be a paradise, but the world will paradise be. So that's an inversion. That's what we're talking about. So as I was saying, this poem has a dialogic relation with Neo-Shundare's The Leader and the Led. And if you want to read about The Leader and the Led by Neo-Shundare, I've done analysis on it on my website, eyoitem.com. You should go and read. So the language of this poem sounds like you're reading the King James Version of the Bible. The language of this poem sounds like you're reading the King James Version of the Bible. It gives you that old vibe, like the word is coming from the scriptures, which really suits the motive of preaching or the posture of preaching that the persona has taken in the collection. The second stanza of the poem discusses the need for the equitable distribution of leadership gains so as to bridge the gap that exists between the rich and the poor in society. Again, another exhortation there where the author says, you cannot develop this section of society and leave out the other section of society. The society should be developed evenly. That's what the persona says. The second stanza of the poem discusses the need for the equitable distribution of leadership gains so as to bridge the gap that exists between the rich and the poor. One of the signs of good leadership is the even development of society. One of the signs of good leadership is the even development of society. Another poetic element that we notice in the poem is repetition. Repetition. We also have, the poem is also rich in metaphor. Another trope that we should notice in the leader is biblical allusion. In fact, you will find biblical allusion throughout the collection, and you should not wonder why. It's because, one, the persona is a pastor, and second, the persona is preaching, and third, the persona believes in Christian philosophy. So there's going to be biblical allusion in this collection. The second part of Songs at Dawn is entitled Loyalty. Some of the outstanding pieces in this section of the anthology are some of the poems, some of the impressive poems in this part of the anthology. My anthology is a collection of poems. Some of the poems in this part of the anthology are I Have a Conviction. I Have a Conviction. Birds Plea. The Giants. The Giants. I Say Freedom. I Say Freedom. I Say Freedom. The Parrot. Another poem is The Parrot. A Tribute to the Elephant. And Our Democracy. A Democracy. Let's talk about the parrot. Let's talk about the parrot. The parrot is concerned with the unity of Nigeria, the unity of society, unity of Africa, unity of the community. The poem is written against the background of the divisive tendencies in society. We are living in deeply divided societies, where one person claims that they are this, the other person claims that they are this, and so on and so forth. There's no unity. So against this background, Udoikpa writes, the parrot, to help bring us together as one people in unity. The persona of the poem is a parrot. The persona of the poem is a parrot. So the persona of the poem is a parrot, and what we know about the parrot is that it speaks a lot. It has the ability to speak. So as a parrot, it uses its rhetorical skills to speak truth to power. It uses its rhetorical skill to speak truth to power. So by mentioning the parrot, we recall Imeikede's the vulture's funeral. And you could see how Udoikpa draws from that oral tradition, oral material. Because all literature is connected. So the poem has 5 stanzas. The poem has 5 stanzas and employs the motif of folklore. By this, it also reminds us of late Professor Imeikede's The Vulture's Funeral, which has parrot as one of its characters. In the poem, the poet's persona refers to Nigerians as citizens of the feathered breed. In the poem, the poet's persona refers to the Nigerian citizens as citizens of the feathered breed, who are favored by God, who are favored by God, but that they have allowed this unity to keep them backward and underdeveloped. So what this persona is implying is that a society that is divided cannot progress. A society that is divided cannot make progress. A society that is divided cannot be developed. Okay? A society that is divided will stagnate in underdevelopment. So if we want to develop our country, Nigeria, if we want to develop Africa, it's important that we come together as a people. Because unity is strong, and unity can lead to progress and development. One of the dominant figures in this poem is the use of rhetorical question. One of the dominant tropes in this poem is rhetorical question. A rhetorical question is asked for its effect and not to elicit a response. An example of rhetorical questions used in the poem are, can't we earnestly love ourselves? Can't we unite like Godhead? Can't we be unfeigned and concerned? These are the questions that are asked in the poem to consider rhetorical questions. Remember that rhetorical questions are questions that are not asked not to be answered, but asked to achieve a poetic effect. The poem, The Parrot, is also frivolous. Like most of the poems in the collection, it's a frivolous. It also makes use of run-on line. So you note the anaphora, in the repetition of can't we, in that expression. That's anaphora. Anaphora is a repetition of a word or a phrase at the beginning of a line of a poem. Consecutive repetition of a word or a phrase at the beginning of a line of a poem. So the expression can't we, in those lines constitute anaphora. So take note of that. Another trope worth mentioning in the poem is caesura. So caesura is a break in the middle of a line, and it is deployed in the penultimate line of the first stanza, the final line of the second stanza, the fourth line of the third stanza, and the fifth line of the fourth stanza, and the final line of the fifth stanza. That's if you read the poem, The Parrot. Let us briefly look at the third part of the collection, and then we call it a day. Remember that the review from where I'm taking this lecture is on my website. Just Google Songs at Dawn by Udoikpa. It should be one of the first set of write-ups on Google. So you click and then you read everything, because we'll not take this again the next time. We'll move on to the next collection. So the third part of the collection is entitled Humanity. The third part of the collection is entitled Humanity. It contains poems like The Poets, Minds, The Place We Stay, Death, and I Can't Hear the Orphan. The third part of the collection is entitled Humanity, and it contains important poems like The Poet, Minds, The Place We Stay, and I Can't Hear the Orphan. The concern of the section is a reflection on our humanity. The section reflects on our humanity at a time when most people act as if they are not human beings. They act like animals, act like beasts, in the way they treat others, in the way they deal with others. They lack humanity, they lack human sympathy. And so this section of the collection wants us to bring back our humanity, because our humanity is what makes us different from other creatures. It's what is unique to us. Humanity is that we share in the concern of our neighbors. We are empathetic towards others. We understand their situation, and then we act kindly towards them. Okay? So it is inhuman to press another person. It is inhuman to kill another person. It is inhuman to suppress another person. Anything that does not make for the development of a human being, anything that impedes the development of a human being is inhuman and should not be done. This is the message that this section of the collection sends across to us. An important poem in this section is Genes of Beauty. The poem talks about the need for us to radiate godly beauty, which is seen in character, virtues, and actions, not merely in the physical appearance. The poem talks about the need for us to radiate godly beauty, which should be seen in our character, in the virtues we exhibit, in our actions, and not just looking good in the appearance. And by yesterday we talked about the same thing, that if love is based on appearance only, then the lover is doomed, because the true beauty is on the inside. And when you talk about the internal beauty, you talk about the virtues, the character of the individual. The poem has two stanzas. It makes use of tropes like hyperbole, simile, imagery, and alliteration. Example of hyperbole in the poem is millions purchase expensive cosmetics like thorough trained artists. Millions purchase expensive cosmetics like thorough trained artists, which is also a simile because of like thorough trained. So all these cosmetics you bought, are you going to paint a picture? Are you going to draw a picture? But it's for personal beauty, okay? Yes, it's good to look good physically, but how about the internal beauty? All right? The poem is also rich in visual imagery. Visual imagery can be seen in words like curves, straight lines, pent lips, nose, eyes, cheeks with black, red, blue, and pink. Those are words of sight, words that make us see. All right, so for the rest of the analysis, you can visit my website, udoikpa.com, to read. Have a very beautiful, beautiful morning.